I was going to make my family proud. I had just graduated from the Baltimore School for the Arts and was on my way to Fordham University, where Denzel Washington himself had trained. My dreams of becoming a world renowned actress were finally within reach. But while I was excited to pursue my dreams in theater, I was most excited to not have to pretend every day to my family that I was okay. Once unpacked, for the first time, I felt truly alone. I was haunted by my thoughts. Like, would I be able to fool my professors and classmates into believing that I was brilliant? I mean, I was $40,000 in student loan debt. Failure was not an option. Besides, I couldn't tell my dad that I was not going to be the perfect daughter that he had always wanted me to be, or that I wasn't happy. I had been there for about 2 months, and every day I struggled with maintaining my relaxed hair. See, my mom had always done my hair because I was a poster child of tenderheadedness. One day, after about 3 hours, I failed at straightening my hair. I mean, I failed at something so basic. I was frustrated, and then I saw my bathrobe's belt, and I looped the belt around my neck, and I pulled so tight that I almost passed out. I mean, I didn't feel good afterwards, but I didn't feel bad. I felt something other than the numbness of my everyday life. But I decided to focus on school. Now, despite being dyslexic, I am pretty damn smart. I had to write a paper that was a bit out of my element, but I gave it my all. A week later, my professor, he posted my grade and I got a C. You mean I put in all of that work and I got a C? My dad always told me that when you're Black, you have to be twice as good to get half as much. So a C for a Black person is a D. How in the world could I have gotten a D? I mean, at this rate, I had to tell my parents that I was failing. I mean, I know that they would say that everything was okay, but deep down, they would have seen me for the failure that I am. That night, I choked myself just to make the pain go away. Man, fuck that class. I was going to focus on what I came here for, acting. Now, I had beaten out thousands of people to get into Fordham. I had talent. I was going to make my family proud. And then I saw my shots. They were holding auditions for a Raisin in the Sun. Now, look, it's a play for Black people. There are only 5 Black people in my theater class. And I know that play. Man, I walked out of the audition room confidently knowing that that part was mine. The next day, the professor, he put out that cast list and my name was not called. Damn it, you mean I couldn't even get cast in a Raisin in the Sun and my part, went to that preppy little white girl. It was just too many failures. I couldn't I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I stopped going out. At that point, I was choking myself almost every day. I mean, I was bringing shame to myself and my family. And then one day, my roommates had gone out. And I just wanted the pain to finally stop. So I looped my bathrobe belt around my neck and I tied it to a pipe and I got on top of my bed and I jumped. I jumped into what I thought would be tranquility, but instead, the bathrobe belt broke and I hit the floor with a full realization of what I had done. I had tried to die. I laid on the ground, shaking with the aching pain of my failures. I mean, I know that hangings were used to terrorize Black people into submission, but in that twisted moment, I thought I could be free. So I had two decisions I could make. I could either try again, or I could call my RA for help. The whole damn dorm room watched as I numbly got into an ambulance. Next stop, a mental hospital. The EMT driver had told me, man, just cheer up. You know, there are people who have it worse than you. See, what I should have said to him was, don't you know I know that? Don't you think that if I could just cheer myself up, I would have? I have been trying to cheer myself up for 6 years. I mean, I am ashamed that I am in an ambulance on my way to a mental hospital instead of being at home practicing my future Oscar speech. But my depression, it kept me silent. And I looked at the ground and I nodded my head. And I walked into that mental hospital. Inside, they took away my clothes and my ID, and then my baby, my iPhone. I'm truly a millennial. That night, I heard the screams. And I talked to some of the other patients. One guy had been there for about 2 months. Another Black woman had been there for 3 months. And a guy who called himself Looney Louie had been in there for 5 years. I mean, I was never getting out. But while I was in there, a lot of the outside stressors, they were just gone. I mean, for the first time, I got to talk to people who were going through similar shit. I got to try yoga and dance therapy. After a week of being in there, I didn't necessarily want to live, but I no longer wanted to die. And so they released me. And then they gave me back my iPhone. And I saw all the messages. Are you okay? Did you really try to die? Are you coming back to school? Did you really try to commit suicide? Apparently, my head professor had told my class that I was in a mental hospital. The whole damn school knew. And then I made two decisions. I was no longer going to be an actress, and I was transferring. Now, don't get me wrong, my parents had been called, informing them that I had tried to commit suicide. Because trust and believe, I would have never, ever told them what I had done. I mean, I thought my dad was going to kill me. My mom would be brokenhearted, and my little brother would be disappointed. But they did none of those things. They were the supportive family that they had always been. Once we got back home, my parents carefully helped me find a therapist. You see, finding a therapist is sort of like dating. Can be a lot of duds, but when you know, you know. I've had some mini suicide attempts along the way, and each one of my therapists has helped me through with no judgment. I've seen actually about 3 therapists over 7 years, and they've helped me deal with a lot of my issues. Like in the mornings, I used to feel so useless and sad that I couldn't even get out of bed. They helped me figure out how to put my worries into perspective. Or I worried I could never master my hair. So they helped me build up my confidence to go natural. I worried that my mental situation would affect my ability to hold a job. But they helped me build on my strengths and surround myself with people who really care about me. I languished over finding love. I mean, who wants to marry a crazy person? But they helped me build up my confidence in myself and form a relationship with the love of my life. We recently got engaged. I worried that I could never make my family proud. But my therapist helped me remember that my family loves me no matter what. Now, don't get me wrong, I am still a work in progress. But despite all of these gains, for the past 9 years, I have been terrified that if I expose the still tender part of me to the world, that would turn me back into that 18-year-old who wanted to die. But there's a quote I have remembered as I've grown up, and it's by Nina Simone. It says, "Freedom is no fear." And for the first time in my life, I am no longer willing to accept this fear. That's why I, Amber Diane Taylor, am here to tell you that I'm a girl who tried to commit suicide. I'm a Black woman with high functioning anxiety. And I'm a person who is freeing herself from fear.